You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our review for the first episode of The Mandalorian, which debuted on Disney Plus today, or last night for some of you. I believe it went live at 3 in the morning, and there have been some issues, primarily in the UK, but fortunately this morning I got up and I was able to access the platform and watch the first episode of The Mandalorian, which I have to say I was very, very pleased with. Now, we're going to get into some spoilers here because you really can't talk about this first episode without getting into spoilers. A lot happened, and, you know, if you ignore the spoilers, it's pretty basic, run-of-the-mill first episode of any series where they're setting up the story, they're setting up things to be revealed later, and it's like any series. Whether the series is good or bad, one thing I can always say consistently about most TV series is that they usually start off fairly slow, and some of them have like a big plot element that happens at the end or something like that. Like, for example, Game of Thrones, when Bran gets pushed off the top of that tower. This show is no exception. There is a big reveal at the end that's going to get a lot of Star Wars fans excited and hopefully anticipating some answers to questions that have been going on in Star Wars for years, basically since Empire Strikes Back, and we'll get into that shortly. The first thing I want to say about this episode is I love the feel, I love the aesthetics, and I love the music. The music is extraordinary. A great soundtrack, none of it lifted so far from the Star Wars series. This is all original music, and I love it. Love the music. The aesthetics, the ambience is just great. It's funny. It has Star Wars in it. Obviously, you could watch the show and say, oh, yeah, there's going to be a lot of things and a lot of little elements about the show that you've seen in Star Wars movies or in Star Wars lore. But at the same time, it feels fresh. It doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. It's very dark, but not dark in such a way that kids can't watch it. It's obviously PG rated. It's Disney Plus, but much darker in tone. You know, much darker in tone than what you get in the movies, for sure. And I like that. Even from the opening scene down to the very end of the show, you could tell that this is going to be very different than other Star Wars shows or IPs that you've seen in the past, and I like that, and hopefully it stays like that consistently. It is only the first episode. So, and Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian is exactly what he described it as, and when he described it as being like a Clint Eastwood type character, on point, very much like that. From the opening scene, you know, he walks into a cantina, and it's like a Western. Even the music is very Western-esque, you know what I mean? Like, the show starts and it's almost like you're watching a sci-fi Western, and that's really cool. And I really enjoyed that element, and it definitely had me engaged right from the beginning. Now, to give you a rough, I guess, rundown of the episode, basically he starts the show going on a bounty hunt, and he arrives at this cantina, much like I said, and he's there for a bounty, and you can kind of figure out who he's there for. They kind of make it obvious without making it obvious, but he walks in, there's a couple of thugs roughing up this like a fish kind of alien named, I believe his name is Mythlos, and obviously the Mandalorian goes to the bar stool. These two thugs come up to him and they start messing with him, asking him questions, touching him, and obviously you know where this is going. And really, it was kind of funny because a little brawl breaks out, and oddly enough, there is a very violent scene that takes place here, although it takes place off camera, but the indication of what happens to this alien is pretty grotesque. But basically he uses his rocket propelled lasso from his arm, like the Mandalorians have, and he traps this alien between the door, and then he shuts the door, and it kind of, so you can get the idea. So pretty violent, but again, you don't really see it, and it is a PG rated show. So, and of course he's there to collect the fish-like alien, and he collects him and he brings him back to his ship. When he goes back to his ship, he's got to do like a, there's another Star Wars alien many of you will recognize. We've seen this alien plenty of times before, and he's basically calling like speeders. He's like a cab caller of some sorts. And the first speeder he calls has an R2 unit as the driver, and the Mandalorian's like, nope, no droids, can't have droids. And then the second speeder pops up, and he gets in that speeder. He goes to his ship. He brings his target with him. He's cuffed and everything, and he's sitting at the front with the Mandalorian on his ship. He talks about, he's trying to negotiate a way out of, obviously, the bounty, offering more credits, things of that nature. And then finally, he kind of leaves. He's like, look, I got to use the bathroom. Mandalorian doesn't say anything, lets him do his thing. He knows there's no escape for him. He goes downstairs. He starts kind of snooping around. He finds a weapon cache. And then he finds, like, other bounty targets in cryo freeze, which I thought was interesting because if you remember Empire Strikes Back, the only time we saw cryo freeze was obviously when Han Solo got cryo freezed. And I remember Boba Fett telling Darth Vader, what if he dies? He's no good to me, dead. And then, of course, Vader promises to compensate him, which tells me that this is not a technology that the Mandalorians often used when it went to capturing bounties. So I don't know if there's going to be a story element there that we're going to find out later, where the Mandalorians have kind of incorporated this tactic into their bounty hunting. So if that's the case, that'll be interesting to find out. But he had about 3 other targets in cryo freeze, and Mythlos is like, or the fish alien, I'll call him the fish alien, is kind of like, whoa. And then he turns around and you pan and you see the Mandalorian right there. And the Mandalorian puts him in cryo freeze. And then he goes to collect his bounty, and we first meet Carl Weathers' character, and they're kind of negotiating, and finally Carl Weathers pays him in calamari flan, which I guess is, that kind of currency. I hear flan and I'm like, hey, that's a Spanish dessert. I'll pay in that. I wish I could pay my stuff in that. So, and then the story progresses. You kind of see the guild where the Mandalorians kind of get together. And what happened was Mandalorian gets another bounty from someone called the Client. And this guy looks like he had some ties to the Imperials. When the Mandalorian gets there, there's stormtroopers there. And this is the first time I've seen stormtroopers that muddied and dirtied. Like, these guys they just look like they're leftover stormtroopers for hire. And he gives them a currency that's very valuable. And I believe it's called Bexar Steel. So this is very valuable. And it's a down payment for the Mandalorian to go on his second bounty hunt. And this is kind of where things get really cool. He meets Nick Nolte's character, which is kind of like a space monkey alien type. Again, I'm not too familiar with what all the aliens are called. And he's got to learn how to ride a blurg, I think it's called. An alien animal that we've seen plenty of times in Star Wars lore, but this is the first time we've seen them be as hostile as they were. And it attacks the Mandalorian, and just as he gets saved by someone off camera, another one charges him, he gets saved again, and then we meet Nick Nolte's character, who basically informs him, look, you need to learn how to ride one of these things if you want to get to your target. I have helped other bounty hunters come through here, and they've all died. So you're going to need this. You're going to need my guide, and good luck. So, but Mandalorian makes it to this basically an open outpost guarded by a number of different, just guards or other, just, real vermin. This is like the underbelly of Star Wars galaxy, man. These are all the lowlifes. These are all the aftermath of Star Wars, when the Imperials fall, the Empire. And so there's all these different thugs around, and he's kind of scouting the area. And then IG-11 comes out of nowhere and just starts blasting all these thugs. And Mandalorian's like, oh, an IG bounty hunter, an IG unit, a bounty hunter droid. So they attack together. They decide to team up, even though they're after the same bounty. And they're outnumbered. They make their way to the entrance where their target is, but they've got a lot of thugs converting on them. And then finally, one of them pulls out this portable, street sweeper of a laser blaster, and he starts blasting at him. IG decides to go, or after being ordered by the Mandalorian, decides to detour the shot so that the Mandalorian can get a clear shot. Eventually, they take everything out, and they make it into the outpost, well, inside this particular room where the outpost is, and they're getting a life signal. And interesting thing is, before going on this mission, the Client tells the Mandalorian that this person that he's going to collect the bounty on is 50 years old, and that he wants him alive, but if he kills him, he needs to bring back proof. And the Mandalorian goes, and him and IG, and this little tube thing opens, and there's a baby Yoda species. Now, you say baby, it's 50 years old, but they age differently. Now, again, none of us know this, what the Yoda species is called, their origins. It's one of the things that George Lucas has kept tight lip on throughout the existence of Star Wars. So this should excite a lot of fans because this might start giving us an indication of exactly what is the origin of the species that Yoda is a part of, as well as their origins, where they're from, why they're so intertwined with the Force. And IG-11 goes to kill the goddamn thing. IG-11, who's played by Taika Waititi, for those of you obviously who know, director of the last Thor movie and the new Thor movie coming out, also played, I think his name is Kagar. I forget the rock alien's name from Thor. But he goes to shoot him. You see a laser blast, so you think, oh shit, he killed him. But Mandalorian actually destroyed IG-11 by blasting it in its, I guess, its head. And then he collects the baby Yoda, and then the episode ends there. So, good first episode. Again, without giving away the spoilers, it's really kind of hard to talk about because it's setting so many things up. For example, when he takes the Bexar to his guild, there is a lady there who takes the Bexar. She breaks it down, liquefies it. She makes him a pauldron, and I believe she keeps a little bit extra for the side to take care of the guild and feed the other men. And as she's making the pauldron, there are flashback scenes with the Mandalorian. This scene was called, or rather, she refers to it as the Purge. And when she mentions it and starts breaking down the metal, he's kind of having flashbacks. Now, it's hard to tell whether the flashbacks are him as a child experiencing the Purge to his people or maybe his planet, or if it's something he's a part of. But I get the feeling that this was a purge that he himself experienced as a child, and he is called what's called a foundling. So I'm assuming that's where he was found, and that's where he became a Mandalorian. So, look, a lot of interesting stuff. I thought it was a very good first episode with a big reveal at the end that's probably going to lead to, who knows, maybe getting some answers as to where Yoda originates from. But I got to tell you, I thought it was a great episode. Look, also, movie quality effects. This is like watching a movie. This is not TV show special effects, man. These effects are top notch. Look, like I said, the aesthetics, the music, the overall feel, the ambiance of the show is incredible. Okay, the visual effects are movie level visual effects. The music is original. It's a Star Wars show without feeling like Star Wars, and I find that refreshing because I can only take so many lightsabers and bam, 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 bam. It's nice to see something different, and at the same time, it uses enough of the Star Wars galaxy that you feel familiar, but doesn't overindulge you with it so that you're getting a repeat of a lot of things. You got a lot of nice Easter eggs. It's also the Easter egg of the Kowakian, I think they call it the Kowakian lizard monkey, which is the little animal that was chilling with Jabba in Return of the Jedi. Well, there's a nice little Easter egg. You see one being cooked, and then as you pan down, you see another one in the cage, and he's looking up, and he's like kind of whining instead of doing all that crazy laughing. There is what some believe so far to be a Boba Fett Easter egg. You see it when he goes down to the guild, and there is what looks to be, for a brief moment, about 18 minutes into the show, what looks like Boba Fett hanging out in the corner. And I don't know. You guys judge. I don't want to say that. It could just be an Easter egg they're dropping in. Who knows where they're going to go with this show. But I would say for a first episode to launch the platform, it's very good. It's such a fresh feeling. And this is one of the reasons why I love Rogue One as my favorite current Star Wars movie. Because even though that's a story we've heard before, we got to see it play out, and it didn't feel like any other Star Wars movie. There wasn't crazy lightsaber battles. There wasn't, you're the Jedi and that's the dark side. It was just something they took from the lore, they brought it together, and this is the same thing. It's that same feeling. And the thing I like about it more is the music is original, and it's really good. Feels like a sci-fi Western. Pedro Pascal, very much, the Mandalorian, feels like a Clint Eastwood character. And you can see there's certain elements about his character that even though he's a bounty hunter, he does have some compassion. I think that's a very interesting story element for the character that's going to bring in some good conflict. So I'm looking forward to it. And unlike Netflix, you can't binge this shit. It's only one episode. So be back here next time when we review episode 2 of The Mandalorian. And I look forward to watching it. Let me know in the comment section what you think about The Mandalorian, if you've seen it yet. And yeah, that's it. We'll talk some more about it. Hopefully there's like coming attractions for the next one. I didn't remember seeing one at the end credits, but I got to roll it again because I didn't let it finish through. So anyway, sorry for this long review. I wanted to make sure that I kind of got into this plot of the first episode, as well as kind of give my take on how the episode was filmed and how it looks and all that. So that way you guys get a full idea of what you're getting into before you watch it. And, but again, like I said, there were spoilers. So, all right, guys, that's it. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news. We just talk entertainment. Take it easy.